80% of language learners who sit a proficiency exam fail it on their first attempt. Not because they lack ability. Not because their language skills are insufficient. But because they prepared for the wrong thing entirely. Welcome to Lang Bridge. Today we are talking about language proficiency tests, what they actually measure, why so many intelligent, dedicated learners walk out of the exam room defeated, and the specific strategies that consistently separate those who pass from those who do not. There is one principle at the heart of every successful test result that almost no language teacher will tell you directly. We will get to it. Stay with me. Language proficiency tests have existed in formal structures since the early 20th century. The United States Foreign Service Institute began developing standardized oral proficiency interviews in the 1950s, primarily to assess diplomats before overseas postings. The idea was simple: governments needed a reliable way to know whether a person could actually function in another language under real pressure. From that institutional need grew an entire global industry of language certification. Today the landscape is vast. You have IELTS and TOEFL for English, DELF and DALF for French, DELI for Spanish, Goethe Certificate for German, JLPT for Japanese, HSK for Mandarin Chinese, TOPIK for Korean, and dozens more. Collectively, over 6 million people sit a major language proficiency exam every single year. Universities require them. Employers demand them. Immigration authorities accept them as proof of integration. These tests carry enormous real-world consequences for millions of lives. But here's what nobody talks about: every single one of these tests is not measuring your language ability in the way you probably think. They are measuring your ability to perform under specific conditions, within a specific format, against a specific rubric. That distinction is everything. Think about it this way. A native English speaker who has never seen an IELTS academic writing task 1 might score lower than an intermediate learner who has practiced bar chart descriptions for 6 weeks. The native speaker has superior language ability. The prepared learner has superior test performance. The exam rewards the second person. Every time. Understanding this is the foundation of every smart preparation strategy. You are not studying a language. You are studying a test that happens to be delivered in a language. So how do you actually prepare effectively? Let us break this down into the 4 pillars that consistently produce strong results across all major proficiency exams. The first pillar is diagnostic awareness. Before you touch a single practice paper, you need to know precisely where you stand. Most learners skip this step because it feels uncomfortable to confront weaknesses. That is a costly mistake. Every major exam has a published scoring rubric. IELTS academic writing is scored on task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. JLPT N2 tests language knowledge, reading, and listening separately with minimum passing thresholds in each section. You cannot pass by being brilliant in one area and ignoring another. Take one complete practice test under timed conditions before you do anything else. Score it honestly against the official rubric. That data tells you exactly where your preparation hours need to go. The second pillar is format mastery. Every exam has structural patterns that repeat with remarkable consistency. TOEFL independent writing tasks almost always ask you to agree or disagree with a broad statement about human behavior or society. DELF B2 oral production follows a fixed structure: preparation time, monologue, then discussion with the examiner. DELI intermediate listening sections follow specific question type sequences. When you internalize these patterns, the exam stops feeling like an unknown threat and starts feeling like a familiar exercise. Spend at least 30% of your preparation time doing nothing but format familiarization. Not language study. Format study. The third pillar is deliberate timed practice. Here is a number that should change how you train. 92% of test takers who report running out of time during the reading section also report never having practiced under timed conditions during preparation. Time management is a learnable skill. It does not develop automatically from knowledge. Practice every section with the timer running. Track your pace obsessively. Learn exactly how long you can spend on each question before you risk the overall section. The fourth pillar is examiner psychology. This sounds strange, but understanding what human examiners are specifically trained to reward changes everything about how you approach speaking and writing tasks. IELTS examiners are trained to award higher scores for a wide range of vocabulary used accurately, rather than sophisticated vocabulary used incorrectly. This means using a precise but simple word correctly beats using an impressive word inappropriately. Goethe oral examiners are explicitly looking for interaction strategies. Do you ask clarifying questions? Do you manage conversational turns? Do you recover from errors gracefully? Knowing these internal priorities lets you direct your performance precisely toward what earns points. Now let us talk about specific test families because the strategy shifts depending on your target. For English proficiency tests, particularly IELTS and TOEFL, the academic reading section is where most candidates lose the most points. The passages are dense, technical, and deliberately intimidating. The single most effective technique is learning to skim for structure before reading for content. Identify the topic sentence of every paragraph within the first 10 seconds of encountering it. Then answer location-based questions by returning to those sentences directly rather than rereading entire passages. This single technique can recover 8 to 12 minutes across a full reading section. For French DELF and DALF, the writing production tasks reward demonstrated discourse organization above almost everything else. French academic writing has a specific rhetorical structure: introduction with problématique, developed argumentation in 2 or 3 parts, conclusion with synthesis and opening, that differs meaningfully from Anglo-American essay structure. Candidates who write excellent French but organize it in an unfamiliar structure consistently score lower than candidates who write competent French within the expected organizational framework. For JLPT, particularly N2 and N1, the grammar question sections use a specific trap structure. They present 4 grammatically plausible sentences and ask you to identify the one that is actually natural in context. The trap is that 3 of the 4 options contain grammar structures that are technically possible but contextually wrong. The only preparation that defeats this is massive exposure to authentic Japanese text, novels, newspapers, quality journalism, so that unnatural constructions create an instinctive discomfort. This cannot be crammed in the final week. It requires months of accumulated reading. But here is what nobody talks about regarding HSK, the Mandarin Proficiency Exam. The jump in difficulty between HSK Level 4 and Level 5 is statistically the steepest progression of any level transition in any major language exam globally. Data from the Hanban Institute shows pass rates drop from approximately 68% at Level 4 to 39% at Level 5. The vocabulary requirement moves from around 1,200 words to 2,500 words, but more critically, the text complexity increases in a way that requires genuine reading fluency rather than word-by-word decoding. Candidates who pass HSK 5 reliably report that timed extensive reading of simplified Chinese news articles, practiced daily for at least 4 months prior, was the single most effective preparation strategy. What does this all add up to? The pattern across every exam, every language, every certification is consistent. Candidates who pass treat the exam as its own subject of study separate from the language. They diagnose before they prepare. They master format before they practice content. They train under conditions that replicate the real exam environment. And they understand what specific behaviors earn marks from the specific rubrics used by their specific exam. The candidates who fail almost always share the opposite profile. They studied the language generally, assumed proficiency would translate automatically to test performance, and encountered the exam format for the first time on exam day. Ability is not enough. Prepared performance wins. One final insight that brings everything together. Research published in the journal Language Testing in 2019 found that candidates who completed at least 5 full-timed mock exams under authentic conditions before their real sitting improved their scores by an average of 1 full band level on IELTS compared to candidates who studied for equivalent hours without full mock testing. 1 full band level from format repetition alone. Before you go, if you learned something valuable today, hit that like button right now. Subscribe to Lang Bridge for a brand new video every single day. We will see you in the next one.